Multicultural Mosaic Foundation more than 14 years right now. And today's lecture would be about the history of Islam. Before that, I would like to give a little bit of information about myself. Um, I have I was raised and born in Turkey, and I moved to the United States for graduate studies. Um, and after I got my PhD, I find a job in Colorado, and since then I have been in the Colorado. So more than right now, uh, it's about 14 years right now. So I have been with the Multicultural Mosaic Foundation for a long time right now, and we have been doing similar presentations before. So maybe I can start right now about our presentation. All right, let me make a full screen in here. All right. I hope you can all see my presentation right now. Today's subject is history of Islam. Before starting that, I would like to give you a little bit of background about this presentation. The history of Islam. Unfortunately, I will not be able to talk about many things, including the Crusaders, including the the big empire in India, the Mughal Empire, where the people built the Taj Mahal and etc. Many parts of the Islamic history will be missing actually in this presentation. Another thing about this presentation is the I will not talk about the uh, talk about many details about the art and the scientific developments and etc. This is more like a political history of Islam. Okay. So before starting the presentation, I would like to give you some information about Arabic names and transliteration, which is quite important since this format of referring to the people is kind of not very common in the West. And so Arabic names have different formats actually. And like the most common format is given in here, um, where, for example, we say Khalid bin Walid. The Khalid is the name of the person, and his father's name is Walid. That means Khalid, son of Walid. Okay, and some people are only referred through through their father's name or mother's name or some titles as well. Like in this one, Ibn Masud is a famous companion of the Prophet Muhammad. That means son of Masud. Okay, his actual name is not mentioned. Like the Gulsum, um, she is referred as the mother of Gulsum. Okay, and of course she has a real name, but the people kind of make this parts of names as the common names for those peoples or the nicknames that the nicknames that the finally, I mean, become famous with those names, like the Abu Bakr, father of Bakr. Sometimes very strange formats happen, like Muawiyah bin Abu Sufyan. Actually, this means Muawiyah, son of father of Sufyan. Actually, Muawiyah and Sufyan are brothers, and his father's name is never mentioned in this name, actually. Um, some people are known through their titles, like Abu Hurairah, that means father of kitten, or the Abu Jahl, father of ignorance. Maybe you heard about the Abu Jahl in the previous presentation. So there are other oddities actually coming from Arabic to the English. There are some transliteration problems, or the many different transliterations exist, like the Usman. You can see in here the third caliph of the of Islam can be written different ways actually. Like Omar can be written this way or that way. So I choose one way sometimes, uh, and we will see it actually. So, and you will also recognize in the names they use the definite article in Arabic, the al. which means the, basically. For example, the Al-Kitab means the book. Okay. Okay. All right, let's take a look at the map. If map of just by the Prophet Muhammad passed away. Okay, when the Prophet Muhammad passed away, this orange territory was kind of belonged to the Muslims at that time. Okay, this is year 632. So there are two big empires at the time of the Prophet came to this world. The biggest empire is the Byzantium Empire, or the Eastern Roman Empire, okay, which basically controls most of the Middle East, including Egypt, Syria, parts of Iraq, and the Northern Africa as well at that time. And on the east, the biggest rival is the Sassanid Empire, uh, basically the Iran, and that controls some parts of the Middle East and the whole Iran and some parts of Central Asia at that time as well. So you can see the expansion of the Muslims actually in short period of time. The orange one is when the Prophet passed away, peace be upon him, and this pink part is conquered by the four righteous caliphs after the Prophet. This is basically about 30 years after the Prophet passed away. And the Umayyads extended through the Northern Africa and the Andalusia, the Muslim Spain, and also through the Central Asia and etc. So, and the Byzantium Empire you can see in blue coloring here. So, okay, let's start with the four righteous caliphs. Okay, when the Prophet died on June 8, 632 in Medina, he did not leave any successor. By the way, successor in Arabic means caliph. The name caliph comes from that. So, and the Prophet's companions, they consulted each other to choose who is going to be the leader of the community at that time. And the companions selected the Prophet's best friend, Abu Bakr, as their leader. Okay, and the Abu Bakr struggled actually. He only ruled 2.5 years. And the reason he struggled is the several tribes of Islam left the religion after the Prophet passed away. So he tried to suppress them. And another activities is some kind of interaction with the Byzantium Empire, where the Muslim armies led by Amr bin As defeated the Byzantium Empire in 634. And after this defeat, the Muslims extended their territories to the south of Iraq and up to the Palestine. Okay. And another important thing happened during his short period of ruling is the Quran compiled as a book led by the commission Zayd bin Sabit. Okay, before passing away, Abu Bakr recommended Umar to be the next caliph. And Umar is the second best friend of the Prophet. Well, they say that Umar and the Abu Bakr and the Prophet, they were always together actually during when the Prophet was alive. So Umar has known, I mean, he is known as a strong and tough character. At the same time, he's very righteous and very just as well. So during his time, only 10 years, that's the largest expansion of Islam actually into the world. And there are many conquests happened, like the Battle of Qasidia. There are two big wars with Iran, and the first one is in the 636 at the Battle of Qasidia. Um, the Muslim armies defeated the Sassanid Empire, and they took the Sassanid capital uh, short period of time after that, and they moved their old capital to the Ray, the city of Ray, which is Tehran right now. And another big thing happened is they take the Damascus in 635. They defeated the Byzantium Empire in Jordan. And 2 years later, the Jerusalem is taken by the army led by the Amr bin As and Khalid bin Walid. Actually, I mean, you should be familiar about these names, Amr bin As and Khalid bin Walid. These are commanders, actually, commander in chiefs at that time in the Muslim armies. And the Amr bin As, again, a couple of years later, he conquered Egypt and Alexandria is taken. And later they they went further into the northern Africa, and more importantly, in 642, this is the second battle against Iran. The Sassanid reign is ended with this war, and Iran was fully conquered by Muslims. So this only 10 years, there are many things happened. And the Syria, Iraq, Iran, and Egypt was conquered by Muslims. This is the fastest expansion of Muslims in throughout the history of Islam. So other things the Umar did, one of them is he uh, uh, he established an orderly and sophisticated justice system, and he also established the Department of Treasury during this time. In 644, he was assassinated by a Persian slave in response to the Muslim conquest of Persia, Iran. Okay, so I would like to have one glimpse of Umar, how he was, how he was ruling, um, and this is particularly Umar in Jerusalem. And this RA, actually, I forgot to mention, means may God be pleased with him. We use it after the companions of the Prophet Muhammad. Um, the Patriarch Sophronius was in charge of Jerusalem when the Muslims came to their doorsteps. And he refused to surrender the city unless the Caliph himself come and claim the city, holy city. And the Umar traveled alone with one servant and one donkey. Okay, and they were using the donkey. They were sharing the donkey. One of them was riding the donkey, and the other one was walking. So when they approached to Jerusalem, it was the turn of the servant to ride the donkey, and they entered this city actually in that way. So people could not actually recognize Umar from the servant. They were kind of confused. They were thinking that maybe the servant was the caliph, because when they look at their dressings, Umar's cloth was very simple and it was indistinguishable from his servant. So, Umar in general, he lived a very simple life and he lived like a poorest person in his community. So, and he was very righteous and a just and very pious person at the same time. So, it's a kind of a role model for many rulers actually in the world. So he was probably one of the most powerful person in the world at that time. So, okay, they made an act actually. The Patria and Umar made an act, and this is an historical document actually available. And in this document, they assure the safety of the people in Jerusalem. So it continues like that. It's interesting document. In the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate, this is the assurance of safety which the servant of God, Umar, the commander of the faithful, has given to the people of Jerusalem. And it continues, their churches will not be inhabited by Muslims and will not be destroyed, neither they nor the land on which they stand, nor their cross, nor their property will be damaged. They will not be forcibly converted. So until recently, most of the Israel's land, actually, the Jerusalem's land, was owned by the Greek Orthodox Church because the Muslims did not really take their lands actually in the Holy Land. So this is a photo of the Umar Mosque and the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. This is where they say that the Patria and the Umar met actually. So, all right. There can be many of you probably was thinking about why the Islam expanded so fast and what was the motivation behind of that. And the historians put forward different ideas, and some important ones actually I put it in this presentation. So uh, probably one of the biggest factor is the Islam united the Arabic tribes under one rule. Before that, the Arabs were tribe by tribe, and they were fighting each other, and they were not like a one nation under one flag, and they were not acting that way. So in this way, basically, Islam united them and motivated these people to to do good, and they perform actions to please God in place of personal and the tribal interest. So another thing is that the long wars actually between the Iranians and the Byzantium Empire, okay, and that make them very weak actually. So and another motivation, actually, I believe that this probably one of the most important factors that happened is the persecution and the corruption in the big empires. And the Islam offered generous terms to the conquered populations. And also, the Muslims were very just and very simple and honest and administration. Many people actually prefer the Muslims' administration to to the other, I mean, the Byzantium Empire and the Sassanid empires. And another important point is the Muslims did not try to proselytize the conquered populations. They did not try to convert them. Instead, they tried to make the religion accessible to them. Okay, so let me show you one figure. Actually, this is an interesting the interesting plot. They call it S-curve, okay? And this is the conversion to Islam in Iran. And you can see that on the horizontal line, we see the years actually spanning from 646 to even 1058, 400 years of span. And the vertical line is the percentage of people who are converted to Islam. And you can see that in maybe 100 years, there is not even 10% of the people converted to Islam. So until 400 years, Islam become almost 100% in Iran. So all right, the next caliph is the Usman or Uthman. Um, only reigned about 12 years, and he was an elected person actually uh, by the people the Umar appointed before he's passing away. He chose six people, and among those six people, he want them to choose the next successor, and they choose Usman. Uh, he is one of the earliest person actually accepted Islam. Okay, and the one thing peculiar about Usman is the he was from the Umayyad family in Mecca and very wealthy person, and he supported Islam throughout the years actually financially. So many things actually Uthman did. One of them is he kind of relaxed the strict monetary policies of Umar, and during his time, the Muslims become very prosperous, very rich actually during his reign. And and one notable mistake, actually, the historian says that he appointed people from his family, from his clan, as mayors. They are called Umayyads. Okay, and the notable one is the Muawiyah ibn Sufyan. Uh, Abu Sufyan was the king of Mecca actually during the time of the Prophet Muhammad, and he opposed the Prophet severely. Later, he became Muslim as well, but his son was appointed to Damascus, which is a very critical place, the head of Syria at that time. So these appointments actually created discontent among the companions of the Prophet and also the newcomers to the religions. And the another point in this time is the many people become Muslim actually in short period of time. and not with the pure intentions of the earlier ones, some with some material and the political goals. And I mean, because of this situation, actually, there is a kind of civil strife due to this discontent. Civil strife happened, and the this basically emerged in Egypt, in Iraq, some parts of Iraq, and then become a real danger to the whole government. So let me, okay. So the rebellion started in Egypt, moved to the Medina, and Usman met with them, and he promised to address their concerns. However, they decided to kill the caliph and his family. Um, Actually, Uthman has two choices at this moment, that whether he will, obey what the rebellions will do, or he will, gather up his armies. He probably had one of the largest armies in the world at that time. He could easily suppress this rebellion. However, he chose to sacrifice him. This is very unexpected. I mean, in a in political sense, that he tried to not to divide the Islamic world by fighting the rebellions, and he and his family was assassinated in 656, unfortunately. So during his time, um, the conquest basically almost stopped. Only Armenia and the northern Iran, Khorasan, is conquered, and some parts of Africa as well. So after the Caliph Usman was killed, the government was in turbulence. The rebellers took control of the capital. However, they don't know what to do next, because they need to find somebody who will be respected by the Muslims. And they decided to choose the Ali to be next caliph. Ali is an important person, actually, because he is the Prophet's cousin, and he embraced Islam when he was a child. He was a war hero, Islamic scholar, as well as the son-in-law of the Prophet, which is very important, because you will see that the Shiite and the Sunni division originated uh, about the about the Prophet's family. Okay, so Ali was not happy with the situation, and uh, but he nevertheless accepted to be the next caliph to stop the political turbulence. Okay, and another thing about Ali is he married the Prophet's daughter Fatima, and they had two sons, Hassan and Hussein. I mentioned their names because they are important in the Islamic history. So there is a hadith, the saying of the Prophet Muhammad. He designated the family of Ali as his only descendants, and he said this: "I left two things for you. As long as you hold on to these, you will not deviate from the right path: Quran and my family." My family refers to the Ali's family, actually. You may remember from your previous presentation that the Prophet Muhammad did not have a living son, only four daughters, and the three of them passed away before the Prophet passed away. Only Fatima left. Uh, she is married to the Ali. Okay. In general, Ali's reign was dominated by internal conflicts. Only 5 years, actually. We will see why it is 5 years, because he was assassinated as well. The Battle of Camel, um, there are some details about the Battle of Camel, which I will not talk about in here. And the Battle of Siffin is very important, actually. This is happened between Ali and the Muawiyah, self-declared, actually, his caliphacy in Damascus. And he said that I am not going to obey the Ali unless the killers, the rebellers who killed the Osman, the previous caliph, to be found and punished. Okay, and importantly, Amr bin As in Egypt, he supported Muawiyah instead of Ali. So basically, Islamic world is divided into two polarities at this moment. Syria and Egypt is following the Muawiyah, and Ali is in the Medina and the Arabia, and the Iraq was actually supporting Ali as well. So basically divided into two pieces. So two armies faced each other in the plains of Sifwan, which is in Syria. The war took 3 months, which is a very long, very bloody war. There are more companions of the Prophet Muhammad died in this war than any other war beforehand. Actually, more than the combination of any other war actually happened before that. So unexpectedly, this war ended 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 undecided. Okay, so both sides agreed to accept the decisions of fair arbitrators, and the leading companion of the Prophet Muhammad, Abu Musa al-Ashari, was chosen to be the arbitrator. So, and he decided that after talking to the both sides, he decided that Ali should step down from caliphacy, and they need to find out who killed the Osman and punish the rebellers actually who killed him, and the Muslims need to choose the next caliph after that. Okay, basically Abu Musa sided with the Muawiyah. However, Ali refused to accept this verdict and saying that it was contrary to the Quran and the Sunnah, the tradition of Prophet. And after this arbitration process ended, many people broke away from the Ali's coalition. Okay, and those people who broke away, or those people who leave, are called Harijis. Okay, and these people, I will talk about that more detail. They claim that Ali made an error by trusting the decision of the arbitrator, but not his own decision. So basically, at this moment, the Islamic world is divided into three groups. One of them is the Shiatul Ali. Actually, the name Shia is coming from this instance, which means the follower of Ali. I should mention that these are not the today's Shiites. The reason is that they are called Shiites because they follow Ali, but many people actually, I mean, even today's Sunnis are also, siding with the Ali actually in these historical accounts. Okay, not siding with the Muawiyah. And the followers of Muawiyah, we know them, and the Kharijis, those who opposing to the both sides. Okay, so Harijis become a very big problem actually afterwards, and we will see them actually during the reigns of Umayyads, the next dynasty, and also the Abbasid dynasty. They will keep re-emerging actually in the Islamic history. So they were very aggressive and narrow-minded people actually, and they were not accepting anybody as Muslims who are not thinking like themselves. Okay, and they later claimed that both Ali and Usman are infidels. Okay, these are very big claims actually. So Ali fought against them in Nehravan and killed most of them actually during this war. However, I mean they tried to get a revenge of their defeat by assassinating Ali and the other leaders of the Islamic world at that time. So they appointed three people to kill Ali, Muawiyah, and Ambinas in Egypt, uh, and they sent three assassins to kill them. So Ali was assassinated and killed by the Ibn Muljam al-Khariji. Okay, this is their leader actually, the Khariji leader at that time. The Muawiyah was injured uh, during the attack, but he survived. And the assassins sent to the Ambinas killed the wrong person. Okay, because these assassins, they did not know who's going to be killed actually. They tried to figure it out actually themselves, and they find the wrong person. So after Ali is dead, you can imagine that the Muawiyah declared his caliphacy in Damascus. So this way, the capital moved from Medina. Ali moved to the Kufa, the capital, and then it moved to the Damascus. This way. Okay, this is Ali's shrine in Najaf in Iraq. This is a pilgrimage place for Shiite people. Okay, before starting the Umayyad, caliphate, I would like to get some questions if there is any. I see two chats actually here. Okay. Um, all right. There are a couple of actually. Well, there is only one question actually. Okay. Okay. I try to kind of answer this question already with that slides over there. One thing to motivate these people are the spread of the Islam. Okay, this is one motivator. I mean, they have a new religion and they would like to reach to the other people. And when you try to reach to the other people, I mean, in that time's world, you should be prepared for fighting and you should be prepared for a war because people are not open to do different ideas or something like that. I mean, people would not come together and discuss religious matters openly with each other at the time. I mean, at that time. So it's a kind of not that civilized actually societies uh, at that time of the world. So we should also, I mean, think about that. I mean, this is one of the main motivators, one of the big motivators to spread of the Islam. However, at the same time, um, they try to gain weight and power, they gain wealth and power. Some of the rulers we will see actually next time. For righteous caliphs, we cannot talk about that actually, that is true. Because they are righteous people, they do not really seek for the wealth and the power. So instead, they try to more like reaching to the other people. This was the main motivator for the earlier Muslims spreading Islam. So I guess there is no more question. I can continue the Umayyads right now. So, okay. So after Ali passed away, people in Kufa, which is in Iraq, uh, they gathered around Ali's son, Hassan. And they were thinking that, Hassan will be their leaders and fighting against Muawiyah. However, Hassan accepted the Muawiyah as the next caliph and he gave up. And because of that, actually that year the Islamic world is united again, and because of that it is called the year of peace, 661. 20 years later, something important happened, which is kind of very sad actually, which I want to talk about next. And this is one of the reasons that the people today, both Sunnis and the Shiites, they do not really like the Umayyad dynasty and what they have done. And the Muawiyah appointed his son Yazid as the next caliph. Okay, this way that the caliphate becomes a dynasty. In 20 years later, 680. Okay, and the Hussein, the younger son of Ali. Remember that the Ali had two sons, Hussein and the Hassan. Hassan gave up. He did not want to be leader or a politician at that time. But the Hussein, he did not accept Yazid, the Muawiyah's son, as the next caliph. And people in Iraq, they promised to help the Hussein, especially the people of Kufa. Okay, so so Hussein started traveling from Medina to Kufa, which is maybe 500 miles actually, and that's a long way. In the meanwhile, Yazid's forces find out actually this is going to happen, and they move faster, and they went to the Kufa and eliminated the Hussein supporters. Um, this kind of a very sad because Hussein is going to reunite with his supporters in Iraq. However, the Yazid already eliminated them. So his forces surrounded the Hussein and a small group of 80 people in Karbala. Karbala is an important place right now because of that. Except few children, all of them are killed by Yazid's forces. This is the October 10, 680, or the 10 Muharram 61, okay, in the Islamic calendar. This 10 Muharram also coincides with the day of Exodus, according to the Islamic calendar. So the Exodus that the Prophet Moses saved his people from Egypt. This very same day, actually, it coincides. Um, this sad event is one of the worst, actually, the event ever happened in the Islamic world. So it is universally condemned right now by all groups of Islam right now. So, about the political update, the Umayyads conquer the northern northern Iran and some parts of Armenia, and more importantly, they conquer the Andalusia, the Muslim Spain, and the rest of the northern Africa. So, and also they had a failed attempt to take the Constantinople, but they did not succeed. Umayyad's reign lasted about 90 years, and um, during this time, Umayyads did not do a very good job of governing, actually. They suppressed the revolts and they suppressed the different ideas by force. And there were many Shiite revolts. The Hussein grandson and the son of his are also killed, actually, during these revolts. Many of the family of the Prophet Muhammad is killed, actually, during these revolts. So several Khariji revolts happened during this war, during this period as well, and they are also suppressed by the government by force. So they use the force instead of negotiations in general. So it's a heavy hand rule, unfortunate period actually in the Islamic world, Islamic history. Another thing the Umayyads did very questionable is the by this today's standards is the discriminate non-Arab Muslims from the regular Muslims, the Arab Muslims, and although they are Muslims, they are extra text, and they did not give any position in the government actually. So this basically um, uh, slowed down the spread of Islam during the Umayyads' reign. And there is one exception, actually. Some historians call him as the fifth caliph after the four righteous one, called Umar ibn Abdulaziz. Only ruled about 3 years, unfortunately. He was a righteous and pious person and helped the Umayyads to reach their golden times. So he made several improvements in the government. However, we see that the many of those actually undone after he left, actually after he passed away. So this is the Umayyads mosque in Damascus. So let me check if there is any question. I believe, yeah, there is one, I guess. Let me see. Okay, why the question is, um, okay, question is, why did the Muawiyah oppose Ali? What did he do that they did not agree with? Actually, Ali did not do anything to get disagreed with. The problem is the Muawiyah and the previous Caliph was Osman, and Osman is his family member from the same clan, same tribe in Mecca. So Muawiyah, of course, want to protect actually his former man's rights, and because of that, he did not want Ali to be the next caliph, which is not from the Umayyads family. And this is one thing, and another thing is, I guess, his long ambition to be the ruler of the Islamic world. So these are the two reasons. And there is another question: what is the relationship with the Jews and the Christians at the time of the Exodus? Well, this is not about the Exodus. I mean, Exodus happened thousands of years ago. So I don't know why it coincides with the day of Exodus. I mean, uh, I mean, the Karbala event, the Hussein, the Prophet's grandson, passed away. But the question is, what is the relationship with the Jews and the Christians? Their rights are protected by Quran, actually, and the Islamic rulers mostly, actually, in the four righteous caliphs, mostly they obey those rules, and they protected their rights. Umayyad dynasty is not a very good example. Maybe they did some things bad, but they are bound by the religion, so, and the protection by the Quran. So this is a long subject. Actually, we have another presentation, not in this series, but maybe in this series. I'm not sure. The relationship with the Muslims, with the Jews and the Christians. Maybe we can discuss in another presentation. So, right. Third section of my presentation is the Abbasid Caliphate. So Abbasid Caliphate may be in power about 300 years. And the reason for the Umayyads decline, we mentioned that they oppressed people. And due to their mistakes, the people lost confidence actually in that government. And the Abbasid family were the descendants of the Prophet's uncle Abbas. Okay, so they secretly organized people in Iraq and in Iran to end the Umayyad rule. And they revolted together actually at the same time. Abbasids revolted in Iraq, and the Shiites, led by Abu Muslim, revolted in the northern Iran, in Khorasan. Okay, the Umayyads did not expect that actually the two major, revolts are happening at the same time. They could not resist anymore. People did not help them actually, and their reign is ended in 750. So Abu Abbas from the Abbasid family become the first caliph of the Abbasid dynasty, and this way the capital is moved from Damascus to the Baghdad in Iraq. All right, so Abbasid government is a lot better than the Umayyads rule. Okay, so they remove the extra tax taken from the non-Arab Muslims. Okay, and they established equal rights to the all Muslims, and they appointed many non-Arab Muslims to the government positions as well. So during this time, Islam spread actually pretty quickly among the conquered populations, and especially during the time of the Harun al-Rashid, which took about more than more than 20 years actually. During his reign, Abbasid reached the golden age. So this is the golden times of the Islamic civilization. So during this time, Islamic government was very rich compared to the rest of the world, and their knowledge, their science was excelled during this time. So, and politically, many Persians and the Turks become important roles in the government, especially after the 9th century. Abbasids are and their caliphs are controlled by the Turks, the Seljuk Empire. I will talk about that Seljuk Empire. So there were not many conquests during this period. Only maybe the eastern Anatolia is conquered. And by the way, I forgot to talk that when the Umayyads' reign is ended, the Umayyads in the Muslim Spain, they continue to reign. They continue to rule over there. And the Abbasid dynasty, Abbasid rule, they did not try to conquer them. So during the time of Abbasids, although it was a lot better than the Umayyads rule, there were several, again, Shiite and the Khariji, and the Karmati is one another form of the Kharijis. They revolted many times, and there were also a lot of turbulence actually happened. So Abbasid dynasty lost their control of the country because, think about it. One part of the country starts in the Central Asia, other one is in the Atlantic Ocean, the Morocco, and or in the northern side, it starts with the Armenia, it ends with the Yemen or something. It's hard to control such a large country by that time standards. So there are many actually small governments established when the Abbasid lost the country. Lost the control. They still reign in Iraq and the surrounding areas. However, the other parts like Egypt and or the Syria, they they established their own governments. So after a while, their caliphacy become a symbolic and a religious authority, but not a powerful one politically. So um, there are many actually regional governments actually came into the power, especially the Fatimid, which is in the northern Africa and the Egypt. You can see about 200 years. Their reign is ended by the Salatin Ayyubi. You may remember actually his name. He was a subject of movies and etc. who fought the Crusaders several times. So and the Seljuk Empire became the protector of the Abbasid Empire and the Caliphacy, okay, and protected them until the Mongolian invasion. Okay, so this is a big calamity in Islamic world. Okay, so they started in the Central Asia. They crushed the Seljuk Empire. Genghis Khan's grandson, Genghis Khan was their leader and originator actually, and his grandson Hulagu invaded the Baghdad in 1258. This is one of another saddest moments actually in Islamic civilization. The reason is that they destroy all the knowledge actually exists in Baghdad, universities, libraries, and most of the Islamic books and the knowledge is destroyed during this invasion. So those who escaped the Mongolian invasion, they established the caliphacy in Cairo in Egypt. And during this time, another important thing happened actually, that is the ancient Greek philosophy books are translated into the Arabic. And also many actually leading to many Arabic philosophers. Later, this knowledge will be transferred to the Andalusia, Muslim Spain, and through that, it's going to be transferred back to the Europe. So this is the photo of Beit al Hikmah. This is a library actually at that time, from that time, which is called House of Wisdom in Baghdad. Okay, any question? Let's see. Let me look at the chats. Okay, the question is: did so much turmoil in leadership affect the belief system? It is not very much, I should say. Usually, the Islamic scholars are kind of independent, okay, and they kind of actually. This presentation is not about the Islamic thought and how it is developed. However, I can say that during the first 4 centuries of Islam, many things are standardized by the Islamic scholars. And sometimes the political powers try to interfere with them. And due to this, many of the scholars ended up in prisons or ended up dead as well, some of them. So, I mean, this is not an easy time in such respects, especially the Umayyad dynasty was very harsh actually to those who do not, think like themselves. But the Abbasids were more open depending on which caliph is in charge. So I don't think that the belief system is affected. However, I believe that the Islamic political system is kind of affected by the development of these empires. So, all right, Seljuk Empire. So their reign is about 100 years, okay? So the Seljuk Sultanate is established in Iran, and they were the protectors of the Abbasid Caliphate. Baghdad is around here. They were protecting the Abbasid Caliphacy and their territories from their enemies. And let's go back a little bit earlier that the Turks are embracing Islam. During the time of the Umayyads, even though Turks and the Muslims are interacted, they did not become Muslim because of the Umayyads' harsh behavior against the non-Arab Muslims. And this changed during the reign of the Abbasid dynasty, especially after the Battle of Talas in 751. So there was a fight actually ongoing between the Muslims and China in the Central Asia. And during this time, Muslims asked help from the Turkish tribes, which were not Muslim at that time. So this positive interaction created some sympathy between them and ended up Turks being Muslim, actually, embracing the Islam pretty quickly, actually. So the during the time of the Harun Rashid, as I said, the golden time of Abbasid dynasty, the Turkish influence and protection has increased. And however, short period of time later, they are collapsed actually due to the Mongolian invasion. When they are crashed, their authority is lost. However, smaller principalities started ruling in Anatolia and in Syria and different places of the Islamic world. So during from that time, this is the important figure actually, Mevlana Jalaluddin Rumi from Konya. Konya was in Anatolia. So, all right. Um, I would like to start the Ottoman Empire, but there is one more question, seems like. So the question again is what's the relationship between the Jews and the Christians and Muslims at this time? We will address that actually in another presentation again. Um, uh, okay. All right. Ottoman Empire, which is one of the longest empires in Islamic history as well, about 600 years. So this is a map of the Ottoman Empire and how it is expanded through the world. It started right in here. If you can see my pointer, it just below the Constantinople. Okay, it was a small principality, and then later it moved to the west and conquered the Balkan parts of the Byzantium Empire, and later the Constantinople itself. And you can see that after 200-300 years later, they had the most of actually the largest territory from starting from the, I guess the Germany and on the northern side maybe Germany, on the eastern side from Iran and to the northern Africa and up to the Yemen. So we will see that actually part by part uh, what happened. So after the Mongols actually crashed the Seljuk Empire, they divided the land among the different Turkish principalities. The Mongols' rule is this way actually. They come to a place, they kill the people, and then they divide them, and they make sure that these divisions are paying their taxes to them. They do not really stay in one place and stay there, establish a civilization. Instead, they take what they want and then they leave. Okay, this is what happened after the Seljuk Empire is crashed. There are many different small principalities that are established, and and one of them was the youngest one, is called Osman or the Utman. You can say the same word actually has different forms. You can see Ottoman, Osman, Utman. They're all the same word actually. Okay, so this was a young Turkish tribe moved from Central Asia to this land, and later it will become the Ottoman Empire. Okay, in the rising, the Ottoman Empire, what they have done. Let me go back to the map again. There were struggles actually among these different tribes. The Ottoman instead they did not try to struggle with the other tribes in here. They tried to move to the Byzantium Empire and try to capture their land. So, for example, this is one of the, these are only indicating the important points actually during these wars of 300 years. And the Prusa, which is Bursa actually, is a large city in Turkey. The Selanik'i, which is in the European side, is taken, and the Kosovo, which is which is part of Serbia at that time, is taken, and Serbia was annexed. And these activities, actually, this is about 100 years of activities by the Ottomans. This kind of created a lot of worries in the Europe, and they gathered one of the largest crusaders of ever. And they met, actually, the two armies met, the Ottomans and the Crusaders met in today's Bulgaria. Okay, Nicopolis is in Bulgaria, and they failed to stop the Ottoman rise, actually, in Europe. So this is they are kind of defeated, actually, in this war, this large crusade. However, I mean, you can think about, not only the Europeans are worrying about them, the Mongols are worrying about them as well. And this is Battle of Ankara. The Mongols, the Timurid dynasty, actually was ruling most of the Mongol lands at that time, defeated the Ottomans, and this caused 20 years of disarray in the empire. Again, they defeated and they left. So um, about 40 years later, Battle of Varna. Varna is in today's Romania, okay? And the Murat II defeated Hungarian and the Polish forces coming from north. And the second Battle of Kosovo, you can see Kosovo again. So 4 years later, Hungarians are defeated by Murat II again. So this basically solidified, these expansions are solidified the Ottoman presence in the Balkans and the Europe. So shortly after, the Mehmet II, the son of Murat II, the previous sultan, he conquered Constantinople on May 29, 1453, at the age of 21 only. He was a young sultan, and one important thing, actually, from that time to today's world is the ecumenical rights. I would like to talk about that. And he allowed the Orthodox Church to maintain its autonomy and land in exchange for accepting the Ottoman authority. These are called ecumenical rights. I mean, even in today's world, today's Turkey, this is an issue because Turkish Republic tries to control Orthodox Church. However, Orthodox Church is saying that I have an autonomy given by your ancestors 500 years ago. So this is an issue. And the question may arise, why did the Orthodox Church accepted the Ottoman rule? The reason is that there has been quite bad relationship between the European powers and the Byzantium Empire. And the majority of the Orthodox population accepted Ottoman rule as preferable to the Venetian rule, the European rule. So due to this, for example, people probably not aware that Greece accepted Ottoman rule without any battle because their church accepted the Ottoman rule. Okay, this is the expansion period after the conquest of the Constantinople, and his grandson Selim I. Okay, in short period of time, he focused on unifying the Islamic world. He fought against the Iranians, and he took control of the eastern Anatolia, northern Iraq, and the province of Tabriz from the Safavid Empire. Safavid Empire, which I'm not talking about in this presentation, is a Shiite empire located in Iran. And they were not very good, actually, relationship with the Ottoman Empire. There has been about 200-300 years of fighting, actually, between them. And these are the major ones. And the Battle of Mercidabuk, this is in Syria. Ottomans defeated the Mamluks. Mamluks controlled the caliphacy after the Abbasid dynasty is collapsed. Mamluks are established in Egypt, and they continue the caliphacy. So after this defeat, Selim I took control of Egypt and Arabia, and he became the first Ottoman caliph at the same time. Before that, only Ottoman sultan, but not a caliph. Okay. Okay. Now times the comes of the Suleiman the Magnificent, his son, okay, and he reigned about 46 years, very long actually, and he expanded the country to its largest borders. He captured the Belgrade, okay, this is the capital of Serbia right now. He conquered Hungary in the Battle of Mohacs, and he attempted to take the Vienna from Germany. This is the first siege of Vienna, and which was unsuccessful. And he conquered Baghdad, and he took control of it from the Shiites. And he take also Romania, Moldova, and the Ottoman influence reaches to its largest extent, and even to the Somalia and the Horn of Africa. So, all right, this was the golden time of the Ottoman civilization, by the way. I mean, the Ottomans were the richest nation in the world, most powerful one, and while the European powers are in medieval ages. So, however, I mean, things did not go, as always, in the straight path, as all histories are like that. I mean, there are some cyclic nature in the history. Sometimes you are good and you have a unity, you have power, you have everything, but later you lose them one by one, and then you become very inferior to your competitors. And similarly, Ottomans experienced stagnation about 300 years and then decline and the dissolution. And the main factors actually are the corrupt rulers and incompetent sultans and the ministers and ill-equipped armies, and also the scientific development and advances in the European armies, which contributed to the Ottomans' decline. Um, However, they stayed as a major force until the Second Siege of Vienna, which is a great calamity actually to the Ottomans. After this war, actually, majority of the Ottoman power actually lost in the Europe. They lose one by one all the territories they have taken, and um, and it did not end very well actually for the empire. So not only the, uh, the bad news on the European side, and also there are some problems actually inside the Anatolia, inside the Muslim population, like the Jalali revolts caused widespread anarchy in the Anatolia. And the historian says that these people revolting are not bad people. Many of them are educated people. The reason they are revolting is to change the rule and change it for the better. But I mean, they were unsuccessful. There were some visionary sultans during this long period, the Selim III especially, and the Mahmud II. However, it did not actually stop the stagnation and the decline of the empire. So I should say it is true that after the 1700s, the Russians and the Ottomans fought more than any times, and the last war between the Ottomans and the Russians that kind of ended the Ottomans' reign in Europe as well. This is the wars of 1877 and 1878. So, and other things, other important development is the Wahhabis in Arabia become an important problem uh, in the uh, in the 1800s. So I'm going actually very fast in this part. I'm not talking about each and every individual thing happened. The most important thing actually happened before the dissolution of the Ottoman Empire is the Young Turks movement took control of the government in 1908 by overthrowing the Sultan beforehand. And these people, this movement actually made very bad choices actually politically. For example, they allied with the Germany in the World War One, and Germany is defeated during this war, and the Ottomans are also defeated in this war. And the empire experienced very turbulent times, which basically sealed the fall of the empire. Okay. So after the acts, actually after the World War One, Ottoman Empire reduced to very small area, very small territory, and also mandated by the British Empire. And Istanbul was in rule by the British Empire about 4 years, from 1918 to the 1922. Okay, so in order to stop the decline and whole dissolution of the Ottoman Empire, there is another thing emerged in Turkey, which is the Turkish national movement, which was established in 1918, and then they fought against the invaders of Anatolia, and they were successful, and finally they overthrew them, especially the Greece actually. And later, the Turkish national movement abolished the Sultanate of the Ottoman Empire. This is the end of Ottoman Empire, November 1st, 1922. Later, the caliphacy become like a symbolic thing in the Islamic world, and the Islamic world was not united at that time, and there is almost no way to unite it again. So it was also abolished by the Turkish government in March 3rd, 1924. This is the end of the caliphacy in the Islamic world. So let me see if there is any question. Okay, the question is about the Kharijis. Let me see, I have another slide in here or not. Okay, this is Blue Mosque in Istanbul. This was built in the 1700s. So, all right, let me answer the question. The uh, Kharijis are a political movement. In terms of belief, they are not very different from the other Muslims. However, politically, they are opposing the Sunni and the Shiites at the same time. So people say that the origins of the Kharijis, they are very narrow-minded people. They understand the religion incorrectly in many parts, and because of that, their understanding of Islam is not accepted by the general populations later. So let me see if there is any other question. Okay, seems like not. So let me see, what time is it? We are almost done actually. So if you have any questions, you can send it to me right now, or otherwise we should quit at this moment. So, okay, let me stop sharing. And so this concludes our presentation today. Next week, there is a change actually. It will not be on Thursday, but it will be on Wednesday at the same time. And the topic is the woman in Islam. So thank you very much for listening today. I hope you liked it. So it is never, the same as talking to you face to face, which I prefer. So, but I mean, nevertheless, I hope it does the job. So thank you all. There is another question. Sorry, okay. Okay, the question is, I am curious how the Wahhabis were a problem back then. Okay, they were a problem because they opposed the Ottoman rule. I mean, I'm talking about in the perspective of Ottoman Empire in here. Um, they revolted against, and later they captured the holy cities, the Medina and the Mecca, and they are a problem in a way that they have a little bit of different theology than the rest of the Sunnis. Although they are Sunnis, they are very narrow-minded actually in their understanding of Islam, and they do not accept the others as they are actually. I mean, they do not see themselves equal in terms of the understanding of Islam to the rest of the Sunnis. And these people betrayed Ottoman Empire during the World War One, and they allied with the British Empire, fought against the Ottoman Empire, and you see them actually right now as Saudi Arabia. You know why the Saudi Arabia it is called? Because the Saudis are a tribe who supported Wahhabis actually, who supported and protected Wahhabi movement and tried to make it mainstream Islam in the land of the Arabia at that time. And you can see that they are still in charge actually in Saudi Arabia, the same very same family who opposed the Ottoman Empire at that time. So okay, um, another question, and what happens next with the caliphate concept? Well, caliphacy was a succession rule, right? I mean, by the Muslims, but that kind of requires a united Islam and a united Islamic world, which has never been actually for a long time. Ottoman Empire united many parts of Islamic world and considered it to be a valid caliphacy. However, after that, I mean, all pieces start breaking apart from the Ottoman Empire. So there was no unity, and when there was no unity, so even though there is a caliphacy, it doesn't make much difference actually. Uh, so, and I should say. After the four righteous caliphs, the historians think that the caliphacy is a political, actually, figure, not a religious one. Okay, and later they also lost their political influence as well. So, okay, the question is today there are only three sects of Islam. Um, it is partly true, actually. And it continues, are there any modern ideas how to unite the Muslim world? There may be some revivers or the different Islamic scholars. They put forward different ideas to unite the Islamic world, but it seems very unlikely in terms of politically, I should say. Even though, I mean, religiously and in terms of our beliefs, the Muslims are not very much different from each other. Okay, so we believe in the same tenets of the religion. We have the same practices with the Shiites. We have the same beliefs with the Shiites or the Kharijis. Um, the today's Kharijis are very different actually. Okay, they do not have a government or something like that. But today's Kharijis are like Al Qaeda or Taliban in Afghanistan. They have the same mentality of the old Kharijis 1,000 years ago. So that should give you an idea who the Kharijis are, like Al Qaeda or the Taliban. Okay, okay. There is a comment like sounds like Christians. It can be. I mean, we are all human beings. I mean, religion comes to the people, and the religion becomes like a human product afterwards. And the people follow, people not following, people have different motivations other than the religion, or people do different things, like against their religions as well. So, thank you very much, all. Have a good night. Take care.